Chapter 1. The golden moment that turned to ash. I stood on that stage holding the trophy I'd spent 3 years working toward, the National Engineering Innovation Award. My hands were shaking, not from nerves, but from pure joy. The auditorium erupted in applause, and I searched the crowd for one face. Olivia Chen, the woman I'd loved since freshman year. She was there, front row, but her expression wasn't what I expected. Her eyes weren't on me. They were locked on someone else. Marcus Webb, the golden boy of our university, standing 2 rows behind her with his perfect smile and his perfect life. When I finally made it off stage, trophy in hand, Olivia rushed toward me. My heart leaped. This was it, the moment she'd finally see me as more than just her reliable friend. "Alex!" She grabbed my arm, breathless. "Did you see it? Did you? You have to give that award to Marcus." I actually laughed, thinking it was a joke. It wasn't. Her face was dead serious, those beautiful dark eyes boring into mine with an intensity I'd mistaken for passion so many times before. "What?" I stared at her, waiting for the punchline that never came. "Marcus deserves it more," she said, her voice steady like she was asking me to pass the salt at dinner. "His project was actually better, but you know how these judges are. They favor the underdog story." My chest tightened. The trophy suddenly felt heavy in my hands. "Olivia, I worked 3 years on this. I pulled all-nighters for 6 months straight. I maxed out my credit cards buying materials because my scholarship doesn't cover research expenses." She touched my arm, and I hated how my body still responded to her, how that simple contact made my stupid heart race. "I know, and that's why you're amazing. But Marcus, he's going through something right now. His father's company is struggling with some bad investments, and this award could change everything for him. For us." That word hit me like a bullet to the chest. "You're together?" She blushed, actually blushed, and for a moment she looked almost shy. "Not officially. But Alex, if you do this for me, for him, I'll finally give us a chance. You and me. Like you've always wanted." My hands went numb. The trophy suddenly felt like it weighed nothing, like it was already gone. Everything I'd ever wanted was being offered to me, but at the cost of everything I'd ever earned. People were starting to stare. I could see Professor Harrison watching us from across the room, probably wondering why I looked like I was about to be sick. "I need to think about this," I managed. "What's there to think about?" Olivia's voice took on an edge. "Don't you want to be with me?" "Of course I do, but then this should be easy." She squeezed my hand. "Marcus is having a celebration dinner tomorrow night at the Meridian. Bring the trophy. We'll make the announcement there, and afterward, you and I can finally start our story." She kissed my cheek and left, weaving through the crowd like she owned the room, which, given her family's money, she basically did. I stood there, alone in a room full of people, holding my achievement and feeling like the biggest fool alive. My phone buzzed. A text from David, my roommate. "Dude, where are you? We're all waiting at Murphy's to celebrate." I typed back, "Be there soon," but I didn't move for 20 minutes. I just stood there, staring at the trophy with my name engraved on a small plaque at the base. Alex Rivera, National Engineering Innovation Award, first place. First place. For the first time in my life, I'd come in first, and Olivia wanted me to give it away. Chapter 2. The request that broke me. David took one look at my face when I got back to our apartment and poured 2 drinks without asking. He pushed one across our beat-up coffee table toward me. "What happened?" he asked. "You look like someone died." I told him everything, every word, every moment. He listened without interrupting, which meant it was bad. When David didn't crack jokes, you knew you were in serious trouble. When I finished, he set down his glass carefully, like he was trying to control his temper. "You're not seriously considering this. She said she'd give us a chance." "Alex, listen to yourself. She's making you trade your accomplishment for a maybe. That's not love. That's manipulation." I wanted to argue, but the words stuck in my throat. How could I explain 3 years of longing to someone who'd never felt invisible? "You don't understand. You've never felt invisible your whole life, and then suddenly had someone like her notice you. David's expression softened. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. I've watched you kill yourself for 3 years. Not for her, for you. Because you wanted to prove you were more than your background, more than the scholarship kid who couldn't afford to go out on weekends. And you did. You proved it tonight. Don't let her take that from you. We sat in silence. I stared at my trophy on the table, remembering every late night, every failed prototype, every moment I wanted to quit but didn't. Then my phone rang. Olivia. My hand moved before my brain could stop it. Did you decide? She asked without preamble. I looked at David. He shook his head slowly, his eyes pleading. I looked at my trophy on the table, the gold plating catching the light. Then I heard myself say, I'll bring it tomorrow. Oh, Alex, thank you. You won't regret this, I promise. This is going to change everything for us. She hung up. David stood up and walked to his room without a word. The sound of his door closing felt like a verdict. I'd made my choice, and I already knew it was wrong. But loving Olivia had always meant making wrong choices, and I was apparently too stupid to learn. I picked up the trophy and walked to my room. I set it on my desk and stared at it for hours, trying to remember why winning had felt so important just a few hours ago. By morning, I'd convinced myself that this was romantic, that grand gestures were what love required, that Olivia would see the sacrifice and finally understand how much she meant to me. Looking back, I want to punch that version of myself in the face. Chapter 3. The Devil's Bargain. I spent the entire next day in a fog. My engineering professor congratulated me in class, and I smiled and thanked him while my stomach twisted into knots. My classmates asked to see the trophy, and I made excuses about leaving it in my apartment. Jenny Martinez, a quiet girl from my machine learning class, caught me after the lecture. Hey Alex, congratulations on the award. Your autonomous navigation system was incredible. Thanks, I mumbled. She tilted her head, studying me. You don't look very happy about it. Just tired. You know, long night. Right. She didn't look convinced. Well, enjoy your moment. You earned it. She walked away, and I felt a pang of guilt. She was right. I had earned it. So why was I about to give it away? By 6 p.m., I was standing outside the Meridian in my only suit, a thrift store find that David had helped me pick out for job interviews. The restaurant was the kind of place where my monthly rent wouldn't cover appetizers. I took a deep breath and walked in, carrying the trophy in a gift bag like a fool delivering his own heart for slaughter. Marcus saw me first. Alex, man of the hour. He crossed the lobby in 3 easy strides and grabbed my hand, pumping it enthusiastically. Olivia told me what you're doing. That's real class, man. Seriously. I searched his face for smugness, for cruelty, for anything that would make this easier. Found nothing but genuine warmth. Somehow, that made it worse. Marcus was tall, athletic, with the kind of confidence that came from never worrying about rent or scholarships or whether you belonged, but he wasn't mean. He'd never been anything but friendly to me on the rare occasions our paths crossed, which made me hate him even more. Yeah, well, I didn't know what to say. Olivia appeared in a red dress that probably cost more than my car. She was breathtaking. You came. She kissed my cheek, letting her lips linger just a second longer than friendly. I said I would. Come on. Everyone's waiting in the private room. She linked her arm through mine, and for a moment, I let myself believe this was real, that we were really together, that after tonight, she'd be mine. The private room held about 30 people, Marcus's crowd, all money and confidence and designer clothes. I recognized a few faces: Stephanie Zhao, whose father owned half the real estate downtown; Brandon Kim, the campus social chairman who threw legendary parties I'd never been invited to; a bunch of others whose names I didn't know but whose tax brackets I could guess. None of them had ever spoken to me before. Everyone. Olivia clinked her glass with a fork, and the room fell silent. Alex has something important to announce. All eyes turned to me. My throat closed. The word came out as a croak. Olivia squeezed my arm. Hard. Her nails dug into my skin through the suit jacket. Alex wants to do the right thing. Tell them. The room fell completely silent. 30 pairs of eyes, waiting. I pulled out the trophy. Marcus's face lit up. No way, man. You don't have to. Yes, he does, Olivia interrupted, her voice sharp. Then she softened, turning to me with a smile. Don't you, Alex? I looked at the trophy in my hands, at my name on the plaque, at the gold plating that reflected the chandelier light, and for the first time in 3 years, I saw myself clearly. I was standing in a room full of people who'd never respect me, holding the one thing I'd earned, about to hand it to someone who already had everything. For a woman who'd never loved me. No, I said. The word hung in the air like a grenade. What? Olivia's face went white. I said no. I looked at Marcus. Your project was good. Really good. But mine was better. The judges chose correctly. The room erupted. Whispers. Gasps. Someone laughed nervously. Olivia grabbed my arm, her nails digging deeper. What are you doing? I pulled away. Something I should have done yesterday. Alex, wait. But I was already walking. Through the private room. Through the restaurant. Past the host stand. Into the parking lot where my beat-up Honda waited like a faithful friend. I sat in the driver's seat, trophy beside me, and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Proud. Chapter 4. The night I chose wrong. Then right. But the machine. My phone started exploding before I even started the car. Olivia's texts came rapid fire. You humiliated me. In front of everyone. How could you do this to me? You ruined everything. Marcus is devastated. I never want to see you again. You're selfish. I can't believe I ever thought we could be together. I read them all. Every single one. Then I blocked her number. My hands were shaking. Part of me wanted to drive back, to apologize, to give her what she wanted. That part had been in control for 3 years. But a new part had woken up. A part that remembered what self-respect felt like. I drove home in silence. No music. Just the sound of my thoughts finally making sense. David was waiting when I got home, eating leftover pizza and watching some action movie. He looked at the trophy in my hands, then at my face. You didn't do it. I didn't do it. He grinned. The biggest smile I'd seen in months. Proud of you, man. We celebrated properly that night, just the two of us, cheap beer, terrible movies, and a pizza we could actually afford. It felt better than any party at the Meridian ever could. So what happened? David asked during a commercial break. What made you change your mind? I saw myself, I said, really saw myself, standing there, ready to hand over the one thing I'd earned to someone who'd never worked a day in his life, for a woman who'd never actually wanted me, and I just couldn't do it. About damn time. David clinked his beer bottle against mine. Welcome back to the land of people with spines. We laughed, but it felt fragile. Like I was waiting for the other shoe to drop. It dropped the next morning. I woke up to an email from Professor Harrison, the award committee chairman. Alex, we need to talk. Some concerns have been raised about your project. Please come to my office at 10 a.m. My stomach dropped to my feet. I showed up 15 minutes early, anxiety eating me alive. Professor Harrison looked uncomfortable when he called me in. Alex, sit down. I sat. I received a call this morning from Lawrence Webb, Marcus's father, in the Haven Horian P7 Horo, in the Guard 40 Avon Adi. Oh no. He's made some very serious allegations about your project. Specifically, he claims you plagiarized Marcus's work. What? I jumped out of my chair. That's insane. You can check my development logs, my prototypes, everything is documented. Please, sit. Professor Harrison rubbed his temples. He claims you had access to Marcus's preliminary work last year when you were both in advanced robotics. It was true we'd been lab partners for one semester, but I'd never looked at his personal projects. Professor, I worked on a completely different system. Marcus was doing drone navigation. Mine is ground-based autonomous vehicles. They're not even the same field. I believe you, Alex. He sighed heavily. But Mr. Webb is threatening to pull his family's endowment if we don't investigate formally. That's $3 million annually. I felt the ground shift beneath me. So money matters more than truth. Professor Harrison's silence was answer enough. The investigation will take 2 weeks. Until then, I'm afraid we have to suspend your award status. The trophy needs to be returned to the department for safekeeping. No, the word came out harder than I intended. That trophy has my name on it. I earned it. If you want to investigate, fine. But I'm keeping what's mine until you prove otherwise. We stared at each other. Finally, Professor Harrison nodded slowly. All right, but Alex, you need to understand the position this puts me in. The university needs the Webb donation, and I need my integrity. I stood up. Let me know when the investigation starts. I'll provide every document you need. I walked out of his office with my head high, but my hands were shaking. Marcus hadn't just taken the rejection lying down. He'd gone nuclear. Chapter 5. When the truth has witnesses. The next 2 weeks were hell. The university gossip machine labeled me a thief, a fraud, someone who'd stolen another student's work and tried to pass it off as my own. People I'd studied with for years avoided eye contact in hallways. Classmates who'd congratulated me now whispered when I passed. Marcus played the victim perfectly, wounded, disappointed, just hoping Alex would admit the truth and do the right thing. He gave an interview to the campus newspaper that made me want to throw up. I don't want to believe it, he said, looking earnestly into the camera. Alex and I worked together. I considered him a friend. But when my father showed me the similarities between our projects, I couldn't ignore it. I just want the truth to come out. Only David stood by me. He went to war on social media, defending me to anyone who'd listen. Most people didn't. They've already decided you're guilty, he said one night while we ate ramen because I couldn't afford anything else. Rich kid versus scholarship kid. They know which side they're on. They for way. Maybe I should just give up, I muttered. Even if I'm cleared, everyone will always wonder. No. David pointed his chopsticks at me. You fight. Because if you don't, guys like Marcus win. They always win. And I'm sick of watching it happen. On day 10, something changed. I was in the library, hiding in the back corner where no one could stare at me, when Jenny Martinez found me. She was carrying her laptop and looked nervous. Alex, can we talk? If you're here to tell me you think I'm guilty too, save it. I have something you need to see. She opened her laptop. Security footage from the robotics lab, timestamped from 18 months ago. I was working on a project that semester 2, she explained. Computer vision for medical diagnostics. I kept all my session recordings for documentation because my advisor is paranoid about showing incremental progress. The footage showed me at my workstation, Marcus at his across the room. Our screens were clearly visible from the ceiling-mounted security camera. Watch. Jenny fast-forwarded through several sessions. Your screens show completely different projects. Different design philosophies, different code structures, different everything. You never even looked at his station when he was working. She clicked through weeks of recordings. Each one showed the same thing: 2 students working independently on separate projects. Jenny, my voice cracked. Why would you do this for me? She smiled slightly. Because I was there. I know you never looked at his work. I know because I was so focused on my own project that I barely looked at anyone else's. But the cameras don't lie. And because I'm tired of people like Marcus getting away with everything just because their parents can buy their way out of consequences. Have you shown this to Professor Harrison? I sent it this morning. with an affidavit stating that I preserved the original recordings and never edited them. I also pulled the metadata from my project files that show I was logged into the lab system at the same times as these recordings. I wanted to hug her. Instead, I just sat there, feeling like I could breathe for the first time in 10 days. Thank you. Seriously. I don't know how to. You don't need to thank me. You just need to keep fighting. She closed her laptop. The truth matters, Alex, even when it's expensive. The investigation concluded 2 days later. Not only was I cleared, but the committee discovered something else. Marcus had actually tried to access my cloud files last year. Multiple failed password attempts, timestamped and logged by the university system. He tried to steal from me and failed. Then accused me of stealing from him. Professor Harrison called me personally. Alex, I owe you a profound apology. The university will be issuing a formal statement clearing you of all allegations. Your award is fully reinstated with a formal recognition of the groundless nature of these accusations. Additionally, Marcus Webb is being suspended pending a disciplinary hearing for attempted academic theft and filing false accusations. What about his father's donation? A long pause. Mr. Webb has withdrawn his funding, but some things are more important than money. I should have stood up for you immediately. I'm sorry I didn't. I hung up and just sat there in my apartment, staring at the trophy on my desk. I'd won. Not just the award. Everything. Chapter 6. The Unraveling. Campus changed overnight. The university published the full investigation results, including the evidence of Marcus's attempted file access. The story exploded. Suddenly, people who'd called me a fraud a week ago were DMing apologies. Students I didn't even know were stopping me to say they'd believed in me all along. I didn't respond to most of them. Social media tore Marcus apart. Someone made a TikTok calling him the rich kid who couldn't even steal properly. It went viral. Memes spread. His Instagram comments filled with accusations and mockery. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I felt empty. Winning didn't erase the betrayal. It didn't undo the fact that Olivia had asked me to give away my future, that she'd believed Marcus over me without question. David found me on the engineering building roof 3 days after my name was cleared. It was our spot where we'd come during finals week to decompress and complain about thermodynamics. You've been avoiding the celebration party, he said, handing me a coffee. I don't feel like celebrating. Because of her? I didn't answer. We both knew the truth. She texted me. David said quietly, asked me to ask you to meet her. What did you say? That you'd think about it. He sat down beside me. But for what it's worth, I don't think you should. She showed you who she is. Believe her. I sipped the coffee. It was perfect. 2 sugars, no cream. David knew me better than anyone. Part of me wants to hear her out, I admitted. Part of me thinks maybe she didn't know what Marcus was going to do. Going tan. And the other part? Knows it doesn't matter. She asked me to betray myself. That's enough. But I went anyway. I shouldn't have. But closure is a drug. And I was addicted to the idea of understanding why she'd done it. We met at the campus coffee shop the next afternoon. Neutral ground. She was already there, sitting in the back corner, wearing a simple sweater and jeans. No makeup. She looked tired, beautiful but tired. Thank you for coming, she said when I sat down. What do you want, Olivia? I'm sorry. The words came out fast, like she'd practiced them. For asking you to give up your award. For believing Marcus over you. For everything. Okay. She blinked. Okay? Yeah. Okay. Apology noted. Is that all? Alex. Please don't be like this. Be like what? I kept my voice level. You're apologizing. I'm accepting. What else do you want? 1. I want you to understand why I did it. I understand perfectly. You wanted Marcus. You thought if I made him look good, he'd want you back. You were willing to use me to get him. She flinched. It wasn't like that. Then tell me what it was like. She looked down at her coffee cup, spinning it slowly. Marcus and I dated sophomore year. For 3 months. It was intense. He broke up with me right before summer. Said his family expected him to focus on school. That he couldn't handle a serious relationship. So, you spent a year trying to get him back. I thought if I could show him I was valuable, that I could help him, he'd see what he lost. And I was your tool for doing that. No. She reached across the table, but I pulled my hand away. You were my friend. You've always been my friend. Friends don't ask friends to destroy themselves. I didn't think of it that way. I don't know what I thought. That you wouldn't mind? That the award didn't matter as much to you as being with me did? And there it was. The honest truth. You're right, I said quietly. The award didn't matter as much as being with you. That's the problem. I would have given up anything for you, and you knew it. You used it. Her eyes filled with tears. I made a mistake. No. You showed me who you really are. And I'm grateful for that. Potamentated. But you showed me who you really Takaman. I stood to leave. She grabbed my hand. Desperate. Alex, please. I love you. Those 3 words. The ones I'd waited 3 years to hear. The ones I'd dreamed about during countless sleepless nights. They felt like ashes in my mouth. No, you don't. You love the idea of me. Someone who'd do anything for you. Who'd never question you. Who'd make himself smaller so you could feel bigger. That's not love. That's convenience. That's not fair. You're right. It's not. Just like it wasn't fair to ask me to give away 3 years of my life for your ex-boyfriend. But here we are. I pulled my hand free and walked away. She called after me. I really am sorry. I didn't turn around. Because some betrayals don't heal with apologies. Some wounds are too deep. And some people show you exactly who they are when they think you're too desperate to walk away. I'd been desperate. I wasn't anymore. Chapter 7. The Aftermath. Marcus disappeared from campus. The rumor mill said his father pulled him out, sent him to study abroad in London to recover from the scandal and refocus on his education. Translation: to escape the consequences of his actions. Stephanie and Brandon, his whole crowd, scattered like roaches when the lights turned on. Some transferred. Others just became invisible, no longer throwing parties or dominating campus social life. The ecosystem had shifted, and I'd somehow become part of the new hierarchy without trying. Olivia tried 3 more times to contact me. Texts, emails. Once she even showed up at my apartment, but David ran interference. He doesn't want to see you, I heard him say through my closed bedroom door. Please, just 5 minutes. You had 3 years. You wasted all of them. The door closed. I never asked David what else was said. Didn't need to. Professor Harrison offered me a research position with the engineering department for the following semester. Your work on autonomous systems is exceptional. We're starting a new graduate development team, and we want you on it. Full tuition coverage plus a stipend. I accepted, not because I'd forgiven the university for doubting me, but because I'd earned it, and I was done walking away from things I'd earned. Jenny became a real friend. We studied together, worked on projects, grabbed lunch between classes. She never asked for credit for saving me, never made a big deal out of it. I just told the truth, she said once when I tried to thank her again. That's not a favor. That's basic decency. The bar is really low these days. She was right, and she was also brilliant. Her medical diagnostics project ended up winning its own award that semester. I went to her ceremony and cheered louder than anyone. David graduated that spring and got a job offer in San Francisco. Some tech startup that was paying him way more than anyone our age deserved. Come with me, he urged one night while we packed up his stuff. Fresh start. California. Neither of us has ever been. I've got another year of undergrad, and then the research position. So come after. Promise me you'll at least consider it. I promise. And promise me you'll stop letting people who don't deserve you take up space in your head. I looked at him. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise. You've just been too distracted by pretty girls to notice. We both laughed, but it hurt. Losing David to graduation felt like losing a limb. He'd been the only person who'd never doubted me, never asked me to be smaller, never made me feel like my worth was conditional. You're going to do amazing things, he said the day he left. Just remember, the right people will love you without asking you to be less. I helped him load his car and then he was gone. The semester ended. I received my reinstated award officially at a special ceremony the university held to correct the record. They made a whole production out of it. Formal apology from the dean, statement about academic integrity, the works. My mother came. She took 3 buses from her cleaning job in the suburbs to be there, wearing her best dress, her hands rough from years of hard work. She cried when they called my name. I cried too. After the ceremony, she held my face in her hands. Mijo, I'm so proud of you. Not for the trophy, for standing up for yourself. That's harder than any engineering problem. I almost didn't, Mama. I almost gave it away. But you didn't. That's what matters. We took pictures together, her holding one side of the trophy, me holding the other. Still my favorite photo. That night, I stood in my apartment. David's room empty now, everything quiet. The trophy sat on the shelf next to my textbooks. My acceptance letter for the graduate research program was framed on my desk. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Alex, it's Olivia. I know you blocked me, so I'm texting from a different number. I just wanted to say I saw the ceremony photos online. You looked happy. Really happy. I'm glad. I'm sorry I almost took that from you. I hope someday you can forgive me. I read it 3 times. Then I deleted it. Maybe someday I would forgive her. Maybe in 10 years this would all be a story I told at parties, laughing about my youthful stupidity. But today I chose me. I chose the version of myself who'd worked 3 years for something that mattered. Who'd stood in front of 30 people and said no. Who'd fought when it would have been easier to give up. I liked that version better. Chapter 8. The Man I Became. 1 year later, I stood in a different auditorium at a graduate research conference in Chicago. My thesis presentation on adaptive robotics for elderly care was being presented to industry leaders, venture capitalists, and academics from across the country. My hands weren't shaking this time. I'd learned something in the past year. Confidence doesn't come from people validating you. It comes from validating yourself over and over until you stop needing anyone else's permission to believe in your worth. Jenny sat in the 3rd row, smiling encouragingly. David had flown back from San Francisco for this, sitting beside her. Professor Harrison was in the back, looking proud. When they called my name, I walked to that podium like I owned it. Because I did. I'd earned it. The presentation went perfectly. 20 minutes of research, 10 minutes of Q&A where I fielded questions from a Stanford professor and 2 industry executives. They were tough questions, the kind meant to find holes in your methodology. I had answers for all of them. When it ended, the applause felt different than it had a year ago. Then I'd been searching the crowd for validation. Now I was just grateful to share work I believed in. Afterward, a woman in an expensive suit approached me. Dr. Olivia Chen, head of R&D at one of the biggest tech firms in the country. That was impressive, she said, handing me a business card. We're always looking for innovative thinkers. I'd like to discuss a position with you after graduation. I took her card, thanked her, and realized I was standing in a room full of people who valued my work, not my willingness to diminish myself. That evening, the 3 of us, me, David, Jenny, sat at a dive bar 2 blocks from the conference center, celebrating. To Alex, David raised his beer bottle, who finally learned to choose himself. I should have learned earlier, I admitted. Jenny shook her head. You learned when you needed to. That's what matters. Some people never learn at all. Speaking of which, David grinned. Did you see Olivia's engagement announcement? My stomach didn't clench. No. She's marrying some finance guy. Someone from her dad's company circle. The announcement was very formal. Good for her, I said, and meant it. Jenny raised an eyebrow. That's it? No feelings. Just distant curiosity about a person I used to know. And it was true. Whatever I'd felt for Olivia had died in that restaurant, the moment I'd chosen myself over her approval. We stayed at that bar until closing, laughing, planning futures that belonged to us. David talked about his startup potentially going public. Jenny discussed her PhD plans at MIT. I mentioned Dr. Chen's job offer. You going to take it? David asked. Maybe. I want to see what else is out there first. Look at you having options. He clinked his bottle against mine. Who would have thought? Me, Jenny said quietly. I always knew Alex would end up somewhere good. Talent is patient. It waits for the right moment. When I finally got home to my small apartment, bigger than the one I'd shared with David, but still modest, I passed my shelf where the trophy sat between books on machine learning and robotics. I didn't stop to look at it. Didn't need to. It had never been about the trophy. It had been about the moment I stopped handing pieces of myself to people who didn't value them. That was the real prize. And nobody, not Olivia, not Marcus, not anyone, could ever take it from me again. Chapter 9, 2 years later. I'm writing this from my office at Chun Robotics in Seattle. It's small, but it has a window that overlooks Puget Sound. On clear days, I can see the mountains. Dr. Chun made good on her offer. I've been here 8 months now, leading a team of 6 engineers developing assistive technology for children with mobility challenges. We're working on a prototype wheelchair that responds to eye movements and can navigate autonomously through crowds. The work matters. That matters to me now in a way it didn't before. Before, I worked to prove myself. Now I work because the work itself has value. David's getting married next month in San Francisco. His startup went through a successful Series B funding round, and he's marrying another engineer he met at a tech conference. Someone who, according to him, never makes me feel like I need to be less to make her feel like more. I'm the best man. We video chat every week, and it's like no time has passed. Jenny's starting her PhD at MIT in the fall. We still text weekly, sending each other research papers and terrible memes about academic life. She's dating someone, a grad student in biochemistry who, she says, actually sees me. I'm happy for her. For both of them. Professor Harrison retired last semester. He sent me a letter saying that watching me succeed despite everything had been one of the highlights of his career. That my integrity had reminded him why he became a teacher in the first place. I framed it next to my diploma. I heard about Olivia once, through a mutual acquaintance who didn't know our history. She got married last year. Big wedding. Her husband works in private equity. They bought a house in the suburbs. I felt nothing hearing it. Not satisfaction. Not sadness. Just distant curiosity about a person I used to know. Sometimes I think about that night at the Meridian. How close I came to handing over everything I'd worked for. How that version of me really believed love meant sacrifice. I know better now. Love doesn't ask you to be less. It celebrates you being more. Real love looks like David flying across the country for my presentation. Like Jenny spending hours recovering security footage to save my reputation. Like my mother taking 3 buses to watch me receive an award she didn't fully understand but knew mattered to me. Last week, a college freshman emailed me. She'd read about my story in an alumni newsletter the university published. Apparently they're now using it as an example of standing up for academic integrity. The irony isn't lost on me. How did you know when to stop trying with someone? She asked in her email. I'm in a situation where someone I care about keeps asking me to make myself smaller, and I don't know if I'm being selfish by wanting to say no. I wrote back, "You're not being selfish. You're being smart. When keeping someone in your life starts costing you yourself, it's time to let them go. The right people will love you without asking you to diminish your light." She thanked me, said it helped. Maybe my story matters not because of the award I kept, but because of the person I refused to become. The person who valued being wanted over being worthy. The person who measured his value by someone else's approval. My phone alarm goes off. Team meeting in 10 minutes. We're presenting our latest prototype to the board, and I need to grab my notes. I lock my office and head down the hall, passing my reflection in the floor-to-ceiling windows. Sometimes I still see that kid on the stage, trophy in hand, searching the crowd for validation. But mostly, I see who I am now. Someone who doesn't need to search anymore. Because the approval I needed was never in that auditorium. It was never in Olivia's eyes or Marcus's crowd or anyone else's opinion. It was always in the mirror. And once I found it there, everything else fell into place. Epilogue. The words I'd tell my younger self. I'm not special. My story's not unique. Somewhere right now, someone is reading this while holding their own trophy, wondering if they should hand it over for someone who doesn't deserve it. Maybe it's not a literal trophy. Maybe it's a job opportunity they're being asked to pass along. A creative work they're being pressured to credit to someone else. A dream they're being told to sacrifice for someone else's comfort. Here's what I'd tell them. Don't. Keep it. Keep yourself. The right people will love you without asking you to be smaller. They'll celebrate your victories, not treat them as bargaining chips. They'll stand beside you during investigations and doubt, not disappear when supporting you becomes inconvenient. And the wrong ones, they'll show you who they are with their very first words. Give your prize to someone else. Believe them. I did, eventually, and that belief saved my life. Not my physical life, I was never in real danger, but the life I was meant to live. The one where I respected myself enough to stop accepting crumbs of affection from people who saw me as a tool, not a person. The trophy sits in my apartment now, tucked on a bookshelf between photos of people who actually matter. I don't look at it often. Don't need to. It served its purpose. It taught me what I was capable of when I refused to accept less than I deserved. That's the real award. Not the gold plating or the engraved plaque. The knowledge that I'm worth more than someone's conditional maybe. If you're reading this and recognizing yourself in my story, here's what I want you to know. Walk away. Whatever you're holding, your achievement, your dignity, your self-respect, keep it. The person asking you to give it up doesn't love you. They love the version of you that makes their life easier. There's a difference. And you deserve someone who knows it. I found my people eventually. They were there all along, David, Jenny, my mother, Professor Harrison after he found his spine. They were the ones who never asked me to dim my light to make them more comfortable. You'll find yours too. But first, you have to choose yourself. It's the hardest choice you'll ever make. It's also the only one that matters. 3 years ago, I stood on a stage holding a trophy and thought my happiness depended on a woman who saw me as expendable. Today, I'm sitting in my office, leading a team, doing work that matters, surrounded by people who value me. The difference? I stopped waiting for someone else to see my worth. I saw it myself. And once I did, everything changed. So here's my advice, from someone who almost gave away everything. The next time someone demands your prize, whether it's literal or metaphorical, look them in the eye and say no. Then walk away, and never look back. Your future self will thank you. Mine does. Every single day.